The Israeli military have dropped leaflets over Gaza City telling all residents to leave and warning it's about to become a combat zone. There are estimated to be more than 250,000 people still living there. It's the second time people have been told to flee the city since the start of the conflict. David Mencer in Tel Aviv is spokesman for the Israeli prior to the first.
Gaza's a pretty small place, and that means that Hamas fighters, the terrorists, can move around pretty quickly. And they've developed this underground terror tunnel network, which is twice the size of the London Underground. And they've developed that specifically not to defend their own people, but to move their terrorists around. Now, just today, Yoav Gallant, our defense minister, updated the Knesset, our parliament, and he said that we killed or taken 1,000 of them. And also the majority of the 24 battalions, Hamas battalions, have been shattered, but that doesn't mean they've disappeared. Those pieces of those Hamas battalions are regrouping in different places, and wherever the IDF, the Israeli army, finds those regrouped Hamas terrorists, it's got a duty. It's got a duty to Israel's people. It's got a duty to me and my kids and my family to destroy them, to make sure that they can't carry out October the 7th ever again.
But your repeated evacuation order gives the impression to civilians that this could go on indefinitely, that the so-called fight to eliminate Hamas is infinite.
Paul, it's certainly not infinite. The Prime Minister made clear just last week that we're coming to the end of this stage to destroy Hamas militarily and their governing capability, to ensure we get our 120 hostages back, and also to ensure that Gaza can't be a threat to us. We don't mean that means eliminating every single Hamas terrorist, but it means breaking open their whole military ability to attack us. That's what we're doing. We think we're coming close to the end of this particular phase of this war. We don't want to be in Gaza one more day than necessary. We've got no grievance against Gaza's people, even though many of them unfortunately support Hamas. We're going after this terrorist organization. They will be defeated, but we're doing it not only to protect our own people, but we're doing it for Gazans as well, because they need to be free from this menace so they can build a better future for themselves.
You're telling people to get out via what you call designated safe routes. Are they really safe? There's a lot of evidence that nowhere in Gaza is safe at the moment.
So that's the narrative which media often put forward, but we've put a lot of effort into this, very often at the expense of our own military's abilities to attack the terrorists. What we do is we try and move civilians out of harm's way. It's key to our military strategy. It's the reason why, even though one civilian death is too many, it's a reason why that in this conflict, the Prime Minister has said that it's been about 1-to-1, one terrorist, one Hamas terrorist to one civilian, which is horrible, but at least it's lower than the UN average, which is 1-to-8 or 1-to-7. We know it's traumatic to move again. It's a horrible thing to do, but we want to get them out of harm's way. We want to defeat this terrorist army, and we want to finish.
Office says it's appalled in Gaza at this evacuation order, telling people to go where civilians continue to be killed and injured. It says nowhere is safe in Gaza. An UNRWA quote.
I know there's a bit of a halo effect about any UN organization in London, and I understand that. But UNRWA have unfortunately been shown to be hand in hand with Hamas. So we've got a list as long as your arm of the number of UNRWA employees who also took part in the massacres of October the 7th. We've got UNRWA employees who actually took hostages into their homes. We've got a long list of cooperation there. So UNRWA, unfortunately, rather than being a positive effect or protecting ordinary Gazans, they're giving them dud advice. They're telling them to stick around. Don't listen to UNRWA, for heaven's sake. They're just in hand. The problem is Hamas actually want their own civilians to die. That's a point which I think most people don't get around the world. Success for them is more Gazans killed. That's what they want, 10 times more Gazans killed, because they feel that will draw opprobrium onto Israel, and the international community will criticize us even more. That's the only forum in which they're winning international criticism of Israel. But we're not being put off by that. We're going after this terrorist army, and we are defeating them.
There are thought to be more than 250,000 people still living in Gaza City. You're not just telling a small bunch of people to walk down the road. It's a major upheaval.
Because we need to destroy the terrorists, and we are we are liberating Gaza from Hamas. We must not enable Hamas to be able to regroup, not only to continue their reign of terror, which the BBC bravely, I think, portrayed.
David Mencer, who's a spokesman for the Israeli government, he's in Tel Aviv.